Okay, guys. This one is going to be running back to your rankings. So, for today, I'm going to be ranking every running back starter or backup in the whole league from terrible to special. Starting off with terrible. Okay, let's get this thing started. Here are the 3 worst running backs in the league who actually get snaps. Starting off with Chris Thompson of the Jaguars. Part of the reason I think he's bad is because of his age, and I just don't think he's very good in general. Because, if you look at him, he's an elusive back, but he really isn't that elusive. He's slow. And he sometimes catches it, but that's not his strong suit. And he's not on a very good team, so that's not going to help his production either. And it's just going to make him look worse, which is part of the reason he isn't respected very well. Next, we have J.D. McKissick, also on a terrible team, known as the football team. So, he's young, he's very useful, but I just don't know what's wrong with him. He's a good running back, but he's just terrible when it comes to finding holes. I think I've only seen 5 plays on his film that have been actually good, smart plays. That's another thing Darius Geis struggled with. Not as much as J.D. McKissick, but he still struggled with it. Next, we have Rashard Penny. He's a bust. The Seahawks drafted him. They haven't been very good in the first round. He's a receiving back. He can catch a ton of balls, but he's not a good runner. Honestly, I'd probably put him at fullback, but he's not a good player. Honestly, I'd put him at the worst running back on this list because he just isn't a very good receiving. He's a good receiving back. He is a good receiving back, but if you're a good receiving back, but there's not many that are that successful. There are some, but a lot of them aren't too successful, and he's lacking in that. And now we have T.J. Yeldon, and below average, going up a notch. He's decent, but he's a backup, and he's below average for running backs. Nothing much to say about him. Rex Burkhead. He's small. Let's say that. He's small for the position, and it's honestly, if he was 20 more pounds taller, I'd definitely put him in average, but he's just so small, and he's serviceable, but he's not too good. And now we have Armstead of the Jags. He is also a running back. He's not terrible because he's had a couple good seasons. Like I said, he's on the Jags. The Jags are going to be terrible this year. And he's got some issues like not finding holes, but after he gets 10 yards, it's hard for him to get more yards after those 10 yards. So that's why he's where he is. And now we have, I think it's Darion Evans, whatever. He's a backup. It's just simple as that. He's been a backup his whole career. He probably always will be. Boston Scott. Boston Scott has a ton of potential. He's been good. It's just he's so young. He was one of those prospects that's has a ton of question marks. He played good last year, and I remember he had one really good week against the Giants in Week 17. So there's been some moments. He just needs to keep working, and he's there's no specific skill besides being fast that he's really great in. And now we have Antonio Gibson. He's a rookie on the football team. You want to hear the truth about him? Coming out of college, I think he was a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Antonio Gibson, he's lacking in every place in a running back. It's not like he's terrible. It's they're all okay. He's not a great power back, so when he runs with it, it's hard for him to get past some of these guys. That's why he's a below average back. Next we have Dion Lewis, fast. He's a backup. He's never going to start because the team he's on. Yeah, that's all you need to say. Kerryon Johnson, he's a power back. Very overrated. He's not fast. He's just a power back. He doesn't run through many guys. He's just a violent runner. And that's all he is. If you're just a violent runner, it's hard to succeed. And he proved that last year. He was not very good. That's why they drafted DeAndre Swift. Now LaShawn McCoy, he catches a ton of balls. He's old. Honestly, I'd put him in elite if he was 24. If he was 24 right now, 24, Shady McCoy, Shady McCoy, he'd be one of the best running backs in the league. But, as you know, he's old. Latavius Murray, I hate Latavius Murray. He's a good power back, but I have to admit that he's a good backup. But people think he could be a starter. Nah. He's on one of the best offensive lines in football. It's hard to find a good offensive line, and that's probably why he's getting some yards. He'd get none if he was on the Rams offensive line, which stinks, I have to admit that, and, of course, the Dolphins offensive line. Next, we have Darrell Henderson. Third or second round, I think it was a third round pick by the Rams. He didn't really play last year. Honestly, I don't think he's very good at all. I'm not a very big fan of him. He's on the Rams, though, so I kind of have to give him a little bit of support, but I don't see any specific category where I'm saying he's great in that area. Next, we have Devin Singletary in the Bills, an average. I put him in above average, but he's a good receiving back, and he showed that, but that's about it. Like, he's elusive, but that's about it. He doesn't get as many yards as you want, but he's good enough to be a starter, so. And he's gonna be above average next year. Let me just say that. It's just he's gonna improve a little. I think he's gonna improve, but he's not, like, at this moment. He isn't where will he be at the end of the next season. Zach Moss, respectable. He's an average running back. He's a good running back, but he's average. It's just simple. Matt Breida, fast. That's about it. He breaks a couple long runs, but if there's only a couple long runs, it's really hard to put you anywhere above average. So he's average in my opinion. Frank Gore for the Jets. He's an average running back still. It's so insane. He has not retired yet. I think he might play until he's like 38. He's probably gonna retire at the end of the season. But the only reason he's average is because of the last season. He stayed good, like respectable numbers when he's 36 years old for any running back. Kalen Balaj, he impressed me last season. Oh, everyone thinks he's terrible. He impressed me last year. A very good power back. He runs over guys. He's just not fast, but he's a good running back. I had to put him as a third or second string running back, but he's average a lot. It's hard to find. It's not hard to find average running backs, but it's hard to find a good third string running back, and he's probably one of those. He's probably the top third string running back. That's why he's average. Sony Michel. This one's hard because I don't know if he's had it. I don't think he's had a 1,000-yard season yet, but I haven't seen much of him, so that's why he's average. But he's done enough where he's definitely an average running back. James White, receiving back. He's older. He's shown that he can be a good 2, bridge 1. Giovanni Bernard, he's a beast. He is a beast. He does so much on the field, but he's just not as good as some of the guys who are above average. Like, quality starting running backs. J.K. Dobbins, he's a rookie. I can't really say much about him. I don't know how it translates to the NFL. All I know is he's one of the best rookie running backs, so that's why he's already an average. Ton of potential. James Conner, terrible year last year. Awful. The year before, pretty good. Got injured, but he really showed what he could do. So I really think he could do really, really well this season, but hasn't shown so much that he's good enough to be a starting caliber running back, which scares me because the Steelers are in win now mode. Jalen Samuels, I think he can be a starter right now. I think he managed so much last year. Benny Snell is not good. I don't know why. The head coach of the Steelers, I forgot his name. Whatever. I don't know why he put him ahead of Jalen Samuels because he's a beast. He's just not great. He's not starting. He can start, but he wouldn't be the best. Marlon Mack. he's tough because he's very inconsistent. If he wasn't inconsistent, it would be fine. He's just inconsistent. That's all. That's why he's an average running back. Damian Williams, another back. He hasn't had too much success in his career, but he's good enough where he was good for them last year, definitely in the playoffs. But his statistics were second string caliber running back stats. Next we have Richard of the Raiders, backup. Smaller, he's on the smaller side, but he's interesting. He's a backup running back, though. Richard's a backup running back for those Raiders. Tony Pollard, he was a rookie last year. He showed a lot. I think he could be a starter in a couple of years. I don't think he'll be the best starter, but honestly, I think he'll turn into Kenyon Drake. He scores a lot of touchdowns, not a ton of yards, but he'll have enough yards. I think he's going to turn into one of those guys. Good returner, too. But he's a rookie. He was a rookie last year. I can't really put him above average. And Miles Sanders. Interesting. Carson Wentz, and Deshaun Jackson, but Deshaun Jackson got hurt, were the only weapons on that offense last year besides Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. He was the only producer when they ran the football. In that case, he's an average back after only his first season. That's pretty good, considering where he was drafted. Adrian Peterson put up remarkable numbers last year. Very respectable, like Frank Gore. He's at the tail end of his career. He's now on the Lions, if you watched my last video. Tariq Cohen, he's a Swiss Army knife. He's a good back. I wouldn't say he's the best running back, but overall he's a great player in general. But he's an average back. DeAndre Swift, we haven't seen much. That's why he's where he is, if you know. That's why he's an average. Can't really. A.J. Dillon, same thing. Madison, same thing. He's in the Vikings. Ronald Jones. Bruce Arians named him the starter, which I honestly get. He knows the system better. Honestly, I think Bruce Arians trusts the running backs he's had. So that's why. But he's not very good. He's decent. And he had pretty bad numbers last year, if you ask me. So he's an average running back. He's probably the worst starter. B.J. Hill. He is good, but he's definitely not. Let's just get this down. Most of the guys in above average are good starters. So don't yell at me if you think some of these guys should be in above average. Next we have, it might be Mark Davis, but I don't really know him that well. And I've seen his stats. It's Christian McCaffrey he's behind. He hasn't put up the best numbers because he's been behind Christian McCaffrey. Of course he's on the Panthers. Kenyon Drake. I don't know how good Kenyon Drake is now because when he was in the Dolphins, he was not very good at all. He was okay at best. When he got the Cardinals, he scored a ton of touchdowns. When I look at all the other running backs, he does not compete that well against them. He's a decent running back, though. Chase Edmonds, honestly, I'd probably put him below average, but he's had one decent outing where I'm saying he could start. I wouldn't say he could start for a whole season, but he could start. Tevin Coleman, one of the committee men for the Niners. He's a decent running back. He's been backup most of his career, but he's an average running back. It's pretty darn good. Jerick McKinnon, same thing, in the committee. He used to be the starter until they brought in more guys who proved a little more, and he was injured, so that didn't help at all either. He's a decent running back. Cam Akers, rookie, can't really say much. Malcolm Brown, good mentor, decent running back. Carlos Hyde, he used to be an above-average running back. He used to be a very good starting running back, but he's older now, so he kind of regressed a little. Not last year, definitely not, but I think he's going to dip down a little, but he's not an above-average running back anymore. Now, where the heat goes up a little, above-average quarterbacks, not cornerbacks, running backs. Now going above average. Jordan Howard, He's underrated. He's a good running back. I don't get why the Bears dumped him. I kind of got why they did, but I don't get why they did. They did. They chose to. And then the Eagles did for a dumb reason, if you ask me. Probably to start Miles Sanders, but that was not a good decision. He's rushed for 1,000 yards in a couple seasons. Le'Veon Bell, he was awful last year. He was probably the worst running back, one of the worst running backs in the league in terms of a season, for the season. Le'Veon Bell, he's an above-average back because of the last seasons. I wouldn't put him in average because he's going to have an insane year, if you ask me. He used to be a special back. In 2017, he was special. 2018, I kind of thought he was going to decline. Not that as bad as he did in 2019. 2018, he went down to elite. I thought he was an elite back, and going into 2019, he dropped another one. He's probably not going to get back into special because of his age at 27, but I think he can get back in the elite conversation. And next year, definitely. Maybe he's not going to be special unless somehow he does something insane. Kareem Hunt. That's tough because he kicked a lady in a Chicago hotel, but he's been backing up. He's a great running back. Darn good running back. Probably a top 10 running back if he gets all the things he needs. If he plays a good season, he's a elite running back. Mark Ingram, violent runner, good running back, overrated for that top 100. He was like ahead of Darius Leonard, some big names. I think David Bakhtiari maybe not, but he's an overrated back. But he put up great numbers with that amazing offensive line of Lamar Jackson. But he's not a great back. He's a good back, a very good back. So that's why he's an above-average back. Gus Edwards. He could start on any team besides the one. He could start on maybe 15 teams. So that's why he's an above-average back. He is fast. His speed is a little bit underrated. Not too much. But he's a good running back. You can't say no to that. Next we have, I think it's, David Johnson. He's an injury-prone back. Everyone thinks he's average now. He had didn't he have a 2,000-yard season? Whatever. I think he did. He had something like that. Some nuts here. After that, he was the best running back in the league, if you ask me, after that season. But I think he can have a good bounce-back year. Not an insane year, but a good bounce-back year. And he's on the Texans with Deshaun Watson and Brandon Cooks. And there's two D. Johnsons on the team, so that's going to probably really confuse the other coaches. I hope. But, yeah, he's an above-average back from the past, I'd say. Injury-prone, too. Philip Lindsay. I'm a big fan of him. I think he can be an elite running back, but there's been stuff that has held him back. Like, when he makes those cuts because he's an elusive back, sometimes he hesitates too much, which makes me get hit in the backfield for a loss of like 90. Not 90, but yeah. Okay. Edwards-Helaire. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's a good receiving back. He's a good running back. He's already an above-average back because of the team he's on. He's on the Jags that probably put him in below average. That's what happens when you're on a good team. Next, we have David Montgomery. Insane year last year. He's going to carry that offense with Allen Robinson, Cordero Patterson, even if Cordero Patterson doesn't put up the best numbers. Mitchell Trubisky, hope has a decent year, but my God, David Montgomery will have a very good year. Leonard Fournette. He's a good running back. Very solid power back. He had 3 touchdowns last year, not a ton, but he had a couple of big runs. He's a good running back, and he's backup for some dumb reason on the Buccaneers. Todd Gurley. Knee injury, that's all I got to say. Him and David Johnson would probably be tied for the best running backs in the league. Maybe not. If they both didn't get injured and they kept bouncing back. And defense wouldn't be the same, too. Todd Gurley is still an above-average running back. You have to admit that. Last season, he was not very good at all. 12 touchdowns, though. He found the end zone. That's very important. He's an above-average back. Next, we have Raheem Mostert. Last season, monster, playoffs. Playoffs. If you do well in the playoffs, I put you at above average unless I looked at your film like, my God, this guy had a fluke playoffs. But Raheem Mostert, he showed a good year, and he showed he's the best running back on the Niners. And he earned it. So he deserves to be an above average running back. Chris Carson, power back. He had a huge run against the best running defense in the league against the in the Buccaneers. So that game, he really showed I'm a good running back and I will be the starter on this Seahawks roster. And he is. He's a good running back, very solid. So that's what you got to say about Chris Carson. I said it. Joe Mixon, only good player on that offense besides Tyler Boyd. Joe Mixon is a very, very good running back. I don't care what people say. It's the truth. Next we have Nick Chubb. He's a beast. Beast back. Browns probably their best weapon last year. He performed the best on that team. And when you perform the best on your team, and Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry and Baker Mayfield, not really Baker Mayfield, and Kareem Hunt and David Njoku are on that offense, that shows you're an elite running back. Derrick Henry, I want to put him in a special running back, but he's not really special. I'd say. He runs over more people than I probably do. I probably eat every day. I probably eat, I don't know. Well, that doesn't matter. He probably runs over or breaks 7 tackles a game or runs over 3 people a game. He's the best power back I have ever seen. No kidding. And he's fast. That's crazy. A guy who weighs how much? 200-something pounds? I think he's over 250. It's insane how fast he is. That's why he's where he is. Ezekiel Elliott. He gets a little bit of criticism, but he's a very good running back. He's on America's team, so that doesn't help, but he's a good running back. You have to admit that. He's a very good running back. That's why he's an elite back. Aaron Jones. Tied or led the league in touchdowns last year. That shows something. He's a top 10 running back. He's elite. I don't care what people say about Aaron Jones. He's an elite running back, even though last season was the only huge season for him. Dalvin Cook. Injuries. He carried that offense last year. Yeah, maybe Stephon Diggs didn't have a very good year. Kirk Cousins had a good year. Throwing to Adam Thielen. Those 3 had a good year, but most of them were on play action. They all were accounting for Dalvin Cook because, my God, if he got loose, you're not going to stop him because he ran with it, but he was blazing fast, and you also had to account he could run over you, break a tackle, break your ankles. He could do so much. That's why he's an elite running back. Alvin Kamara now. He's a receiving back. Terrible year last year, but the year before showed I could be the best running back in the league if some guys don't have a good year. Some, like 3 running backs. I think Alvin Kamara could definitely win maybe not the rushing title, but total yards from scrimmage for every running back. Who knows? But he's an elite running back. Now for the special guys. Josh Jacobs. Everyone said it's 1 season. He ran for over 1,000 yards. The Raiders haven't had a running back like that in a while. Maybe Bo Jackson days. When you look at that, he's a stud. In studs, some studs are special. They're already in the special conversation. I'm not saying he's the best running back in the league or anything, but he's special. A stud rookie running back who shows what he could do his first season, I already could see is a special back. Next we have Saquon Barkley. I think he's going to have one of the best seasons ever for a running back next season. Spoiler alert, that's going to be a new video. Stats for every team. Not every team in a whole video, because that would be a movie. So yeah, Saquon Barkley is a very special human being. He can do everything. Everything. He is the only player on the Giants I could be in the conversation for the best at his position. Christian McCaffrey, another special man. 1,000 club, best. He is so versatile. He's fast. He's everything. He's the best back in the league. Sequon might push for that this next season, but for now, he's the best back in the league. That's going to be it for this video, guys. I don't care if you guys call me dumb or whatever you want to call me. You can call me whatever you want because these are just my predictions. The stats are going to be a little more complicated, but see ya.